What is going on, YouTube? So I wanted to come back today. Actually, wanted to get this up a little bit earlier. But talking about the Quinn Ewers news, we got it in this afternoon from Pete Thamel of ESPN. I'll link some of the work we did at Hook'em Headlines down below concerning the situation, and we'll continue to cover it. But yeah, Quinn Ewers will get the start versus OU. I personally wasn't expecting any news like this to come out until Saturday, maybe Friday night, since it's an 11 a.m. kickoff. But with the way Sarkisian's treated the quarterback situation this year, we really don't know who the starting quarterback will be until like right before kickoff, sometimes literally within an hour. But sources told ESPN today that Ewers that looked pretty definitive to me. So, yeah, that's what it looks to be. But, I mean, there's a lot to talk about with this. I'm not going to try to go too long. We did our Hook'em Horns football show for the OU preview and just talking some generic Longhorn stuff, thoughts on last weekend. Have not posted that quite yet, but it is processing right now. So this video will probably get up before that one. But we discussed a lot of in-depth a lot of in-depth stuff about like what Quinn Ewers would be able to do versus Hudson Card in Red River. But a few thoughts I wanted to give. So first off, obviously big news for Texas. Sarkisian said earlier this week that he'll start the guy at quarterback that gives this team the best chance to win. And it looks like, given some practice reports, that Ewers might still have at least a little bit of pain in that non-throwing shoulder. It wouldn't surprise me if he's not back at 100% yet, but this is definitely the best he's been since he originally suffered the shoulder injury. I've covered that last week, I believe, earlier this week, that he's progressing and he was getting closer to a return, but that the big thing is we don't really have any setbacks that I've seen. And that's big given the nature of this injury. It's a clavicle sprain to his non-throwing shoulder. Like I said, he originally suffered it against Alabama in week 2, around the end of the first quarter on a bad hit from Dallas Turner. Kind of drove him to the ground. The original timetable for his recovery was 4 to 6 weeks, so this puts it at the 4-week mark. There was some speculation that he might have been able to return last weekend against West Virginia, but the timing of this return still works out really well. A few thoughts. At a high level, I'll reiterate some of what we talked about on the Hook'em Horns football show. Like I said, that is something that should be coming out later today because we just give a lot more in-depth analysis, talk on some different subjects. But, this is big for the Texas offense I see 3 or 4 major reasons. The first being, I said it earlier, Sark said he wants to start the guy that gives this team the best chance to win. In a little less than 5 quarters that Quinn Ewers has played this season, you've kind of seen the offense open up a lot more with him on the field. He's got a better deep ball. He's able to stretch the field a little bit better. He's able to hit, just with pinpoint accuracy, some of those 15, 20-yard passes, if not deeper, on the sidelines that Card can hit but isn't as reliable on. Also, Ewers has shown quite the knack to make some off-schedule throws, stepping up in the pocket, getting the ball out, really effectively going through his reads. Mostly talking about that second half against UL Monroe and that first quarter against Alabama. He just, literally every quarter, he progressed, it seemed, to start the season. So, obviously, hopefully you start to see some of that come about this weekend. I will say we're probably going to see some rust at the outset. Obviously, there's a lot of Quinn Ewers hype, and for the most part, rightly so. I mean, he's tremendous talent, obviously does everything you would want in this Sarkisian offense. But, I mean, he's still a freshman. This is his first Red River game. I'm mostly doing this just because I feel like, he set their expectations a little bit more realistic of, he hasn't played in a game in basically a month. Like, be a little bit patient with how he's getting acclimated, how he's getting adjusted. And, I think we're going to see Sark work in some easy passes, some screens, some wheels, probably see kind of some short routes as well, getting all these skill players out in space, out to the outside. We saw a lot of getting JT Sanders involved. Texas lining up with 11 and 21 personnel, where they were able to get a short anywhere between behind the line of scrimmage to 2 yards in front, get the ball to Sanders. Something like we've seen that happen with Jordan Whittington before. We've seen that happen with Bijan this season, but get these guys out in space. They're picking up 10, 15 yards after the catch, if not more. It gets, kind of helps spread out the defense, takes advantage of all these skill weapons that OU has to worry about. And, you start getting Ewers in a rhythm, get that confidence up, start building to where you can layer those concepts and really open up the playbook as Sark likes to do. And you can start mixing in things like, kind of like hitting JT Sanders on the seam. We saw that some early this season. Obviously hit Xavier Worthy deep. That's going to be the big thing here. We've seen Xavier Worthy missed on a lot of deep balls again this season when Hudson Card's been in the game. Even some when Quinn Ewers was in. Some of those were Worthy drops, though. But, the deep ball is going to play a huge role in this game with Ewers starting. And then you can even see him working in, some of the short and intermediate passing game to Whittington. You can get Whittington involved in the screen game. And then you got the running backs. Keelan Robinson on some wheel routes or some screens or some swing routes to the outside. Obviously, Bijan you can get mixed in. Roshan Johnson has really good hands. You have a lot of options of what you can do this weekend. Also think you can even get Casey Kane involved a little bit. Him and Ewers seem to have a pretty good connection from what we heard in practice prior to the season and on a couple balls in the first 2 games. I kind of built in the second point I had there of how you're going to see this offensive game plan come to life. Third thing is I really think starting Ewers this weekend is going to by far put the most pressure on OU's defense. I know this seems obvious to say. I get that. But kind of hear me out here. So Brent Venables mentioned earlier this week, this is just the way that Brent Venables is, but he mentioned earlier this week that Hudson Card, he basically sees Hudson Card and Quinn Ewers as the same guy. He's going to prepare the same way. Knowing Brent Venables and the way he coaches defense, it wouldn't surprise me if he's preparing the defense the same way he would for either guy. But what your defense is going to get hit with playing against Quinn Ewers is very different. Or at least the potential of that is very different than what you're going to get, than what you would get otherwise. And I don't know how OU is going to be able to react defensively with some of the blown assignments we saw in coverage last weekend, with really how we saw OU getting beat just in space. Deep ball, they were really just getting beaten every faction of the game when they were on defense. So there's so many dynamics that you have for this Texas offense that are upgraded when Quinn Ewers is on the field that I think that's going to put immense pressure on this OU defense. That brings the conversation now to where, okay, Quinn Ewers is again a freshman who does have the tendency to trust in his arm too much. His second or third passing attempt of his career was a pretty bad interception against UL Monroe. I'm not bashing him for that. That was his first start, literally one of his first college passes. Those sort of things are going to happen as part of the growing pains. But you do have to hope that, that it's not, that we're not going to get one of those games where it's just multiple mistakes that cause turnovers. I think that is one of the X factors here with Quinn Ewers. Turnovers, I think, are going to be one of the major downsides to him at quarterback. But from what we saw against Alabama for a little bit, and then once he started to progress a little bit against UL Monroe, and just the way he's responded, kind of the character he's shown since spring ball, kind of read between the lines here, and you can see that he settled in pretty well. He's showing a lot of confidence. He's pretty calm, cool, collected for a freshman, second-year freshman, but still a freshman. And Sark has stated that over and over again this season, but I think this is the sort of situation where, it's easy to get, it would be easy to get fazed by the spotlight, but I mean, he's used to Red River. He grew up in the Dallas area. Sure, he's dreamed of winning the Golden Hat ever since he was a kid. He grew up a big Longhorns fan, and so this is a huge opportunity for him. If he can keep that cool head, and it doesn't, maybe it takes a couple of drives for him to shake the rust off. This guy really is the limit for the offense in this game. But I'll kind of wrap this all up of like, yeah, I mean, he's going to be in a spot where he can put a lot of pressure on this OU defense. There are a lot of things about the Texas offense that cause just massive matchup issues for OU. A lot of this depends on how, like, when I'm saying the matchup, like some of the matchups that Texas might be able to win this weekend, that will hinge on how healthy OU is. They're just so banged up at a number of different positions, and we don't exactly have a firm injury report from OU heading into this game. And so I don't exactly know the degree to which Texas will be able to win individual matchups, but I mean, when I'm looking across the board here, I don't see a whole lot of situations where I'm like, yeah, that's an advantage for OU. Having Ewers back there, beyond really him having he's just not a dual threat quarterback, and OU has definitely struggled with that. That's really matchup wise the only thing I see is a plus for OU when you're talking about, okay, do you start Hudson Card or Quinn Ewers? Again, obviously, if Quinn Ewers is healthy, you start him in this situation. So, I mean, I love the potential of what Quinn Ewers can do for this offense. I don't know if having this announced like 2 days before the game will really have any impact or anything like that. Maybe it helps OU prepare a little bit more, but like I said, I really don't think that it's going to make a difference in terms of how Venables looks at this situation, knowing that Ewers is probably the starter now versus some of the questions we had regarding, the starting quarterback on Monday, Tuesday, or even yesterday. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Obviously this is a big news report to come out, and that's why I kind of wanted to get a video out on it as soon as I could. But yeah, we'll be talking about it more on the site, hook'emheadlines.com. Like I said, I'll link everything below that I was talking about earlier, and we'll have the actual weekly show coming up on YouTube here soon. Anyway, that is pretty much it. See ya.